So I've wanted to make this video for a while because all everyone else talks about is saving 3 to 6 months of your expenses in your emergency fund in case of a job loss. But I want to dive a little deeper into the emergency savings. It's not just unemployment we all have to worry about, but what about natural disasters? What if there's a disaster so massive that ATMs and credit cards stop working? How much cash do you need to keep in your safe or under your mattress? How do you plan for an evacuation? How do you plan for a zombie apocalypse? And if you're living or retiring abroad, do you know where the closest US embassy is when there's an official evacuation order? And if you and your family get separated during an evacuation, how do you communicate with one another and reunite? And I know some of these scenarios are pretty extreme and I almost sound like a doomsday prepper, but I'm not. I just like to plan for the unexpected. So the two main reasons why I have an emergency fund are if I lose my active income and if I ever experience a loss of home due to a natural disaster or something completely unexpected, like coming home to a flooded home from a broken toilet bowl after a 4-day vacation at Legoland. And I have two parts to this video, and one of them is what I would do if we ever experience a major natural disaster, and one of them is what I would do if I ever lose my job due to a recession or a depression. And if you're brand new to my channel, my name is Sai, and my channel is all about the financial independence and retiring early movement. And it doesn't matter what your net worth is, you need to have emergency savings. And you should always be ready to evacuate for a major disaster. And while you're still actively employed and working on achieving your financial independence, having 3 to 6 months of expenses in a completely separate high-yield savings account is extremely important. My rule of thumb is to have 3 months of expenses if you're a dual income household. So if you lose your job today and your spouse's income can still cover the expenses, then having 3 months of expenses in your emergency fund should be sufficient. If you're a single income household, then generally you want to save 6 months of your expenses. If you're getting ready to retire, depending on your retirement income and your financial situation, you probably would want to have more than 6 months of your expenses. I'm gonna have at least 24 to 36 months of expenses in liquidity saved in a separate account, and you can check out my early retirement plan linked in the description below. You can also get my financial independence resources for free by visiting firesightchat.com/contact. But for this video, I want to really break down what I'm doing to be ready for anything. And the first one is natural disasters. And I live in the Las Vegas area, and the temperature can go up as high as 118 degrees or 120 degrees in the summertime, which is something most people in Las Vegas are used to. But we don't normally get tornadoes or hurricanes, but they can happen. Believe it or not, Las Vegas actually had tornadoes touch the ground back in August, and luckily we were out of town and no one was hurt. And I would be more concerned about a major earthquake in Vegas because we're right by California. But so let's say we got a major earthquake in Las Vegas and our house became inhabitable. You can research other natural disasters that could happen in the area that you live in. The chances are that other infrastructures could be severely damaged as well. This is why it's important to have cash set aside in the house, because we probably won't be able to access ATMs and credit cards, but I want to go to the nearest bank or ATM to withdraw as much cash as possible and get as much gas as I could. You should also have a bag packed for each of your family members and put it away in the closet. Here's the list of things you want to have in the emergency kit or bag. A gallon of water per person, food like the MREs or meals ready to eat. I ate those when I was in the military and they can last for about 5 years. Get an extra flashlight, not the cell phone light, because who knows if you can keep charging your phones. Get a first aid kit for anyone that got injured during the disaster. Extra batteries, a whistle to signal for help, mask for dust when you travel outside, a manual can opener for food, local maps like the good old days before Google Maps came out, extra battery charger for your cell phones, and you get those on Amazon or Best Buy. And if you have to shelter in place because it's not safe to be outside, you should get plastic sheets and duct tape to seal the doors from any air coming into the house. And as far as how much cash I'm gonna have, it's good to have about 1 month of expenses set aside in cash. If the network infrastructure gets degraded or destroyed, you're gonna have a hard time paying with credit cards or taking money out of the ATM, just imagine how many other people will be doing the same thing, right? And I encourage all of you watching this video to create your own go bag. And you all have your own needs like prescription medications, diapers, formula, or something else that's personalized for you. And you should have your passport, social security card, and any other important documents somewhere you can access if you need to leave the house right away. And at least once a year, you should review what you have in your go bag that you can survive for the next 72 hours on the road or in the shelter. And when a disaster strikes, you should grab your go bag and add any essentials to the bag before leaving the house during all of the chaos. But what if you and your family got separated during the disaster? Let's say you were at work while your family was on another side of the town. This is why planning ahead is really important, especially when you're complacent and you don't think anything will ever happen to you. You should have a conversation with your family about the evacuation route and the shelter plan. And your cell phones may not work and there's no way for you to get a hold of them. And if you're not home when the disaster strikes, the first instinct is to go home to find your family, right? But if you're able to communicate, then I would talk about meeting at a predetermined location like the nearest military base or a sports arena or stadium. If you're living abroad, you want to know if there's a US military base nearby or the US embassy. If there's an official evacuation order, then you want to be ready to go with the US government official stationed there, right? But on the state side, the National Guard and an Air National Guard would be activated by the governor to assist in disaster relief. And I encourage you to check out ready.gov/kit to download a list of emergency supplies. So that was the most extreme scenario as to why having an emergency fund is so important. The next one I want to touch on is the loss of a job, which is more common now in 2022 with all the layoffs happening in the tech sector and possibly going into 2023. And if you need help with your personal finances during these tough times to work on your budget, savings, and investments, you can schedule a free one-on-one 20-minute financial coaching session by visiting firesucher.com/coaching. So if I lost my job today, the very first thing I'm going to do is apply for federal and state unemployment benefits. Now, the eligibility to receive your unemployment benefits could also depend on the nature of your termination. Generally speaking, this depends on the state you worked in, and you might not be eligible for unemployment benefits if you were fired for serious misconduct, such as committing a crime, theft, violating safety rules, or something like that. In some states, the disqualification for unemployment benefits only lasts for a certain period, so be sure to check out what the rules are in your specific state. The very next thing I'm going to do is make sure to get my final paycheck from the company I got terminated from, because the check will determine how you can budget in the upcoming months. You might even be receiving benefits like a severance package or continuation of your health, dental, and vision insurance months after your termination, which leads to the next step is to immediately cut all of your discretionary expenses and stop all investments. You need to switch your brain to emergency mode. Here are the 5 things you need to consider when it comes to budgeting without active income. 1, how much do you need to spend each month to put food on the table? 2, how much do you need to spend each month to keep the roof over your head? 3, how much do you need to spend each month to keep the house running like utilities? And 4, how much do you need to spend each month on transportation to get from point A to point B? And 5, how much do you need to pay each month to keep your car insurance, medical insurance, and homeowner or property insurance? Once you have those 5 things figured out, the next thing you need to do is to look at your emergency fund. If you have $10,000 saved, how long will your emergency fund last? How about $15,000, $20,000? While you continue to budget in emergency mode, you need to update your resume immediately. And I recommend keeping your resume under 2 pages or your employer won't even look at it. And that's speaking from experience. You need to send it to as many places as you can to get on the interview process. In the meantime, what I would do is actually start driving for Uber or Lyft to keep some cash flow going to help pay for expenses. And I would get a job that doesn't require many skills or a degree until I get a job that fits for the long term. During the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis, millennials coming out of college had a very difficult time finding a job. And if we're going to experience something like that again in 2023 or 2024, you need to be absolutely ready by having a fully funded emergency fund that can last you until you find your next full-time job. If my emergency fund is completely depleted and I still haven't found a full-time job to cover my expenses completely, the next step for me is to tap into my Roth IRA. I'm not going to withdraw the earnings or interest portion of my Roth IRA. I'm only going to tap into what I contributed to my Roth IRA because those are the money I already paid taxes on. So there won't be any penalty or taxes if I take out what I contributed. And I'm on step 9 of my FIRE checklist right now, and I would completely pause my investments or do anything on this checklist. The only thing I should be worried about is finding the next job, budgeting for expenses that I absolutely need, and working temporary jobs that can maintain some cash flow. And if you want to know more about how to save for your emergency fund and achieve financial independence, be sure to check out these 2 videos. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.